The anniversary dinner was at Marcello's, the same Italian restaurant where my parents had their wedding reception 35 years ago. White tablecloths, candlelight, the smell of garlic and wine. My mother wore a cream-colored dress she'd bought specifically for tonight. My father had on his best suit. They looked happy, proud, celebrating decades of marriage surrounded by family. I sat at the end of the table in my usual outfit, black jeans, a plain navy sweater, and the flats I'd resoled 3 times because they were comfortable. My sister Lauren sat across from me in a designer dress, her diamond earrings catching the light every time she moved. Her husband Brett was beside her, checking his phone between courses. My brother Mason was at the other end with his fiancée Amy, both of them looking like they'd stepped out of a country club catalog. And then there was me, Olivia Thompson, 30 years old. The family project. A toast, my father announced, standing with his wine glass raised. To 35 years with the most beautiful, patient, amazing woman in the world. To my children who make me proud every single day. To family, to love, to the years ahead. Everyone clinked glasses. I smiled and drank, letting the moment pass over me like water. The appetizers arrived. Calamari, bruschetta. A caprese salad that cost more than I pretended to spend on groceries in a week. My mother squeezed my father's hand and looked around the table with tears in her eyes. "I'm so grateful," she said. "For all of you. For this life we've built together. You and Dad worked so hard," Lauren said. "You gave us everything." My father nodded, his chest swelling with pride. "We did our best. We sacrificed a lot to give you kids opportunities. The house, your education's everything." The house. I took another sip of wine. "Speaking of the house," Mason said, "you guys must be close to paying it off, right? What's it been, 25 years? 27, my father said. "We refinanced twice, but yes, we're getting there." I said nothing. I cut my bruschetta into smaller pieces and chewed slowly. "That house is going to be worth a fortune when you finally own it outright," Brett said. "Real estate in your neighborhood has exploded. You're probably sitting on $1 million asset. More like $1.2 million, my father said proudly. "We had it appraised last year." My mother beamed. "It's our legacy. Something to pass down to the children someday." I focused on my water glass. The ice was melting. I watched the condensation slide down the side. "Which brings me to something important," my father said, his tone shifting. He set down his fork and looked directly at me. "Olivia, your mother and I need to have a conversation with you." Every head at the table turned toward me. I looked up from my water glass. "Hey," I said. "We've been talking," my mother said gently, "and we think it's time." "Time for what?" My father cleared his throat. "You're 30 years old now, sweetheart. You've had a lot of time to figure things out. We've been helping you financially for years, and we think it's time for that to stop." The table was silent. Lauren looked uncomfortable. Mason was studying his plate. Brett was smirking slightly. "We're cutting you off," my father continued. "Financially. Completely. As of next month." I nodded slowly. "I understand." "Do you?" my mother asked, her voice worried. "Because honey, we're not trying to be cruel. We're trying to help you grow up. You can't depend on us forever." "I don't depend on you," I said quietly. "Liv, come on," Lauren said. "Mom and Dad have been covering your rent for years. Your car payment. Your health insurance. They even paid off your student loans." "Those are the facts," my father said. "We've spent approximately $180,000 supporting you over the past 8 years. That's not sustainable anymore. We need to think about our retirement." I took a breath. "Okay. Okay," my mother repeated. "That's it? Just okay. What do you want me to say?" "We want you to take this seriously," my father said, his voice rising slightly. "We want you to understand that the real world is hard. You can't just float through life doing odd jobs and art projects. You need a real career. Real stability. Like Lauren and Mason," I said. "Exactly like Lauren and Mason," my mother agreed. "Look at your sister. She's a marketing director. She owns a condo. She's married to a wonderful man. And Mason," my father added, "is a senior accountant at a prestigious firm. He's engaged. He's bought his first investment property. That's what success looks like, Olivia." I looked at my siblings. Lauren wouldn't meet my eyes. Mason was nodding along, his expression a mixture of pity and superiority. "We love you," my mother said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "But we're worried about you. You're 30 and you're still struggling. Still living paycheck to paycheck. Still wearing the same clothes you had in college." "These clothes are comfortable," I said. "They're old," Lauren said. "Liv, when was the last time you bought yourself something nice?" I thought about the $2.3 million property I'd closed on last month. Did that count as something nice? "I spend money on what matters," I said. "What matters?" Brett laughed. "What do you even spend money on? You live in a studio apartment. You drive a 12-year-old Corolla. You never go anywhere or do anything." "Brett," Lauren said quietly, but she didn't actually disagree. "I'm just saying," Brett continued, "maybe if Olivia spent less time doing whatever she does and more time building a real career, she wouldn't need her parents to support her at 30 years old." "That's enough," my father said, but his tone suggested he agreed. "The point is, Olivia, this is for your own good. We're cutting off the financial support so you'll be forced to stand on your own 2 feet. You need to feel the pressure," my mother added. "That's what will motivate you to really try. To really succeed." I looked around the table at my family. At their expensive clothes and confident expressions. At the way they saw me. A permanent child, a project that never quite came together, a disappointment wrapped in good intentions. "All right," I said. "If that's what you think is best." My father frowned. "You're taking this very calmly. What would you like me to do? Cry? Beg?" "We'd like you to show some concern," my mother said. "Show us that you understand the gravity of this situation." "I understand." "Do you?" Mason spoke up. "Because Liv, I don't think you get it. Without Mom and Dad's help, how are you going to pay rent? How are you going to afford anything?" "I'll figure it out," I said. "That's what you always say," Lauren said, frustration creeping into her voice. "You'll figure it out. But you never do. You just coast along letting Mom and Dad bail you out over and over." "We can't keep enabling this," my father said firmly. "We've consulted with a financial advisor. We need to prioritize our retirement savings. We've already sacrificed too much for too long." "Sacrificed," I repeated softly. "Yes, sacrificed," my mother said. "Do you know how many things we've given up to help you? How many vacations we didn't take? How many things we didn't buy for ourselves?" I knew exactly what they'd given up. I knew because I'd been the one actually paying for most of it. But they didn't know that. My phone rang. The sound cut through the tension at the table. I glanced at the screen. Robert Chin, First National Bank. "I should take this," I said. "During dinner?" my father said disapprovingly. "Olivia, we're having an important conversation." "I know. This is important too." I answered the phone. "Hello. Miss Thompson, this is Robert Chin from First National. I apologize for calling during dinner hour, but we have an urgent matter regarding the mortgage account ending in 7734. My parents' mortgage number. I knew it by heart." "What about it?" I asked. "We've processed this month's payment as usual, but I wanted to confirm the wire transfer for the upcoming year. You requested we lock in the payment schedule through next December, correct? That's 12 payments of $3,847 each, totaling $46,164. The table had gone quiet. Everyone was looking at me. "That's correct," I said calmly. "Excellent. And just to confirm, you want this to continue coming from your primary business account ending in 2891? "Yes." "Perfect. I'll have the paperwork ready for your signature. Will you be coming by the branch this week?" "I'll stop by Thursday." "Wonderful. Oh, and congratulations on the anniversary. 8 years of covering this mortgage. That's quite a gift. Your parents are lucky to have you." I felt every eye boring into me. My mother's face had gone pale. My father's expression was frozen somewhere between confusion and shock. "Thank you, Robert. I'll see you Thursday." I hung up. The silence was absolute. Even the background noise of the restaurant seemed to fade away. "What was that?" my father finally asked, his voice strange. "Pi Bank," I said simply. "Your bank," he repeated. "Your bank calling about our mortgage?" I set my phone face down on the table. "Yes." "Olivia," my mother whispered, "what did he mean?" 8 years. I took a sip of wine, letting them sit with it for a moment. Then I said, 8 years ago you were about to lose the house. You were 3 months behind on mortgage payments. The bank sent a foreclosure notice. You were going to lose everything. My father's face had gone red. That's not, we handled that. You didn't handle it, I said quietly. I handled it. I paid off the back payments. All $11,000 of them. And then I started making the monthly mortgage payments. That's impossible, Lauren said. Liv, you were 22 years old. You were working at a coffee shop. I was working at a coffee shop during the day, I corrected. At night I was building websites for small businesses. Freelance work. I'd been doing it since I was 19. By the time I was 22 I was making about $6,000 a month. Mason's mouth was hanging open. $6,000 a month? That was just the beginning, I continued. I saved everything. Lived cheap. Invested. By the time I was 24, I'd built enough capital to start buying rental properties. Rental properties, Brett repeated, disbelief in his voice. 3 properties by age 25. 6 by age 27. 12 by age 29. I looked at my father. I currently own 18 rental properties across the city, plus a commercial building downtown. My portfolio is valued at approximately $8.3 million. The sound of my mother's wine glass hitting the table was loud in the silence. Red wine spread across the white tablecloth like blood. 8 million, she whispered. Give or take. Property values fluctuate. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I turned it toward my father. That's my primary checking account. The business account has about 3 times that. My father stared at the screen. The number there had 6 figures before the decimal point. This can't be real, he said. It's real. I can show you property deeds if you'd like. Tax returns. Business licenses. I have an LLC called Thompson Property Group. You can look it up. But. My mother's voice cracked. But we've been sending you money. Every month. For years. I know. You've been taking our money while you had millions? No, I said firmly. I stopped depositing your checks 4 years ago. I have them all in a drawer at home. Uncashed. About $87,000 worth. Lauren's head snapped up. You have $87,000 in uncashed checks? I didn't need the money. But you all needed to believe I did. So I let you. Why? My father demanded, his voice rising. Other diners were starting to look over. Why would you let us think you were struggling? Why would you let us worry about you? Because the moment I stopped being your project, you'd have to face something uncomfortable, I said quietly. You'd have to face the fact that I succeeded without your help. Without your approval. Without following your prescribed path. That's not fair, my mother said, tears streaming down her face. Isn't it? I looked at each of them in turn. Every family dinner, every phone call, every interaction we have centers around your concern for me. Poor Olivia. Still figuring things out. Still struggling. It's your favorite topic of conversation. Because we love you, my father insisted. Do you? Or do you love having someone to worry about? Someone to fix? Someone who makes you feel needed and superior? That's cruel, Lauren said. Is it? Lauren, how many times have you complained to your friends about your irresponsible sister? How many times have you used my supposed failures to make yourself feel better about your own choices? She looked away, her face red. And Mason, I continued, you've spent years making jokes about my art projects and my hippie lifestyle. It made you feel successful by comparison, didn't it? I was just joking, he mumbled. You were reassuring yourself, I corrected. Reassuring yourself that your 6-figure salary and corporate job meant you were winning. Because if I was failing, you were succeeding by default. This is insane, Brett said. You're blaming them for caring about you? I'm explaining why I let them believe what they wanted to believe. I looked at my parents. You needed me to be struggling. It validated your choices. It made your sacrifices meaningful. If I was doing fine on my own, doing it my way without your path or your advice, what did that say about everything you believed? My father's hands were shaking. We sacrificed for you. Did you? I asked gently. Because from where I'm sitting, I've been the one sacrificing. I've been paying your mortgage for 8 years. That's over $370,000. I've also been paying your property taxes since year 3. That's another $48,000. And the car payment, you think you're covering for me? I paid cash for that car. The $350 a month you've been sending me for that was actually me sending it back to you because I saw your checking account was overdrawn. My mother made a choking sound. The student loans you paid off, for me? I'd already paid them. You sent me a check for $15,000 2 years ago saying it was to help with my loans. I used that money to cover your home insurance premium because you'd let it lapse. I don't believe this, my father said, but his voice was weak. I pulled out my tablet from my bag and opened a folder. This is 8 years of financial records. Every mortgage payment, every tax payment, every time I've covered your expenses while letting you think you were helping me. I slid it across the table. You can verify every transaction. My father took the tablet with shaking hands. He scrolled through pages of bank transfers, payment confirmations, property tax receipts. His face went from red to pale to gray. Why? My mother asked, her voice breaking. Why would you do this? Why help us while letting us think we were helping you? Because you needed it, I said simply. 8 years ago, Dad, you lost your job. You were unemployed for 7 months. Your retirement savings were gone. You were drowning in debt. You were going to lose the house. We got through that, he said weakly. You got through it because I paid your bills, I said. And when you finally got a new job, it paid 30% less than the old one. You've been underwater ever since. The only reason you still have this house, this life, this illusion of stability, is because I've been covering the gaps. But we send you money every month, my mother protested. Money you can't afford to send. Money that comes from your retirement account. As I checked. You've been liquidating your 401k to send me $1,500 a month, paying penalties and taxes on early withdrawals. You've cost yourself about $40,000 doing that. My father put his head in his hands. So I let you send the checks, I continued. I let you feel like good parents, like you were helping your struggling daughter. And I made sure you didn't lose your house. I made sure your bills got paid. I kept you afloat while you congratulated yourselves on supporting me. This is... Lauren started, then stopped. This is crazy. Why not just tell them? Because they didn't want to hear it, I said. They wanted a daughter who needed them. Who validated their choices. Who proved that their way was the right way. I looked at my parents. If I'd told you 8 years ago that I was making 6 figures doing freelance work, living in a cheap apartment by choice, building an investment portfolio, would you have believed me? Or would you have told me to get a real job? My father said nothing. You would have told me to stop dreaming, I said softly. To be realistic. To get a corporate job with benefits. To follow the path you understood. And if I'd refused, you would have worried even more. You would have seen me as even more lost. So you lied to us, my father said. I let you believe what you wanted to believe, I corrected. I never asked you for money. You offered. You insisted. You made it a condition of your love, in a way. As long as I was struggling, I was worthy of your concern and attention. That's not true, my mother sobbed. Isn't it? I asked. When was the last time you called me just to talk? Not to offer help, not to express concern, not to give advice. Just to talk. She had no answer. You're all sitting here in your expensive clothes, celebrating your successes, and you decided tonight was the night to cut off poor Olivia, I continued. You were going to teach me a lesson about the real world. You were going to force me to grow up. All while I've been the one keeping this family financially stable for nearly a decade. Mason found his voice. The investment property I bought. I gave you the down payment, I said. You remember that gift from Aunt Susan who died 2 years ago? The $50,000? There is no Aunt Susan. That was me. I knew you wanted to invest in real estate but couldn't qualify for a loan without a bigger down payment. He looked like he'd been slapped. And Lauren, I turned to my sister, your condo. The one you bought 3 years ago. You remember how the seller mysteriously dropped their price by $45,000 at the last minute. Her eyes widened. I bought out their asking price, I said. Then I restructured the sale through a different LLC to make it look like you'd negotiated a great deal. I wanted you to have that condo. You'd worked hard for it. Oh my God, she whispered. I've been helping all of you, I said. Quietly. Without taking credit. Bez, I love you. Bez, you're my family. But I'm tired of being your project. I'm tired of being the one you worry about while I'm the one keeping everything together. My father finally looked up, tears in his eyes. We didn't know. I know you didn't know. That was the point. I stood up, placing my napkin on the table. You wanted to cut me off tonight. To teach me about the real world and responsibility. Consider it done. As of tomorrow, I'm stopping the mortgage payments. The tax payments. Everything. Wait, my mother gasped. You can't. I can, I said calmly. You're cutting me off, remember? So I'm cutting you off too. You've been surviving on my support while thinking you were supporting me. Now you'll get to see what your finances actually look like without me. Olivia, please, my father said, standing. We didn't understand. We made a mistake. You made a lot of mistakes, I agreed. But the biggest one was assuming that success looks like you. That my life had to mirror yours to be valuable. That my choices were failures because they weren't your choices. We're sorry, my mother said, reaching for my hand. We're so sorry. I looked at her tear-stained face, at my father's devastated expression, at my siblings' shocked silence. I know you are, I said gently. And I forgive you. But things need to change. No more money from me until you understand what I've actually been doing. No more pretending I'm the struggling child you need to save. No more using my supposed failures to make yourselves feel better. What do we do? My father asked helplessly. You start by asking questions instead of making assumptions. You start by seeing me as I actually am, not as who you need me to be. You start by respecting that my path might look different from yours but still be successful. I picked up my purse and pulled out an envelope. Inside were all the uncashed checks they'd sent me over the years. I set it on the table. That's $87,000 worth of checks you sent me. Money you pulled from your retirement to help me. I never cashed them. Deposit them. Put them back in your 401k. Stop sacrificing for a daughter who doesn't need saving. Olivia, my mother started. I love you all, I said. I really do. But tonight was supposed to be about cutting me off, about forcing me to face reality. So that's what I'm doing. I'm cutting off the support I've been giving you. You want me to understand the real world. Now you'll understand your real financial situation. I walked toward the exit, then stopped and turned back. The mortgage payment is due on the 15th, I said. The property tax payment is due on the 30th. You'll need to cover both. I suggest you check your account balances and start making a budget. Welcome to the real world, Mom and Dad. It's hard. But I think you'll be okay. After all, you've always told me to just figure it out. I left them sitting there, stunned and silent, while the other diners pretended not to have witnessed the entire thing. As I drove home in my 12-year-old Corolla, paid off, perfectly maintained, perfectly adequate, I felt lighter than I had in years. My phone started ringing almost immediately. First Lauren, then Mason, then my mother, then my father. I didn't answer. I'd spent 8 years being their secret benefactor while playing the role of their disappointing daughter. 8 years of letting them feel superior while I kept them afloat. 8 years of protecting their pride at the expense of my own truth. That ended tonight. When I got home to my studio apartment, my choice, my sanctuary, perfectly located near my properties, I made tea and sat by the window. Tomorrow I'd probably answer their calls. We'd probably talk. They'd probably want to understand, to apologize, to make things right. And maybe we would make things right. Maybe this shock was what they needed to see me clearly. To understand that success isn't one size fits all, that helping them didn't mean I needed help, that wearing old clothes and driving an old car was a choice, not a failure. Or maybe they wouldn't understand. Maybe they'd be hurt and angry and defensive. Maybe our relationship would never fully recover from this revelation. Either way, I was done hiding. Done pretending. Done being their project. I was 30 years old, worth $8.3 million, owner of 18 rental properties, and I'd single-handedly kept my family from financial ruin for 8 years. That was my truth. And finally they knew it too.